Welcome. Wherever you are, whatever your day has held, I invite you now to slow down, to let the weight of modern life slip gently from your shoulders. Breathe slowly, softly, and begin to imagine a world that existed thousands of years ago, yet echoes in our lives even now. Tonight, we'll journey back, not to the splendor of empires or the glory of conquest, but to something quieter, older, and deeply human, the dawn of civilization. We'll begin in the cool, earthen courtyards of ancient Sumer, where ink-stained clerks hunched over clay tablets under the hazy sun. We'll follow the story of Gilgamesh, the first hero to ask the question that still troubles us: why do we die? We'll wander the ruins of yore and end, as the ancients might have preferred, with a feast lavish and ritualistic, held in the shadow of the ziggurat, beneath the watchful gaze of the gods. Let your mind drift. There is no need to remember names or dates or places. Simply allow the rhythm of their lives and the texture of their world to unfold slowly before you. So now, with the soft murmur of the Tigris in the distance, let us begin. Why you wouldn't last a day as a Sumerian clerk, imagine yourself in the city of Uruk. The morning sun filters through thin linen awnings stretched across narrow streets. The clay beneath your sandals is already warm. You are not a priest, nor a merchant, nor a farmer toiling in the canals. You are something else, something new. You are a scribe. You awaken before dawn on a mat woven from reeds, your spine still stiff from yesterday's writing. You live in a modest home made of sun-baked mud brick. The air smells faintly of charcoal and damp earth. Outside, someone is already sweeping the courtyard with the fan of date palm fronds. You hear the slow, creaking song of an ox cart in the distance. There is no coffee, no desk chair, no keyboard. Instead, you gather your stylus, a thin tool carved from bone or wood, and a satchel of soft clay tablets. These are your parchment, your hard drive, your spreadsheet. Everything you do must be etched with pressure and precision. Once the clay hardens, there's no backspace. You arrive at the temple offices just as the city stirs to life. The scribal room is dim and cool, with only narrow slits in the walls for light and air. A low bench, a rough surface for writing, and a stack of damp tablets await your work today. Inventories. A recent delivery of barley measured in gur and sila, ancient volumes not easily translated. Each figure must be perfect. Each symbol, each wedge-shaped impression in the clay must align with what came before. No errors. A slip of the stylus and the numbers could imply a shortage. A shortage might suggest theft, and theft in Sumerian bureaucracy is no small matter. The language you write Sumerian is not your spoken tongue. It is a formal ceremonial tongue used only for law, account, and liturgy. Its grammar is complicated. Its signs cuneiform number in the hundreds. You memorize them not just for meaning, but for context. Some symbols shift shape depending on their neighbors. Some carry double meanings. Others are nearly identical, distinguished only by a slight angle. There is no paper, no margin of error, and each tablet is heavy, physical, a burden that mounts across the day. Your wrists ache, your back grows tight. The scent of drying clay fills your nostrils. Still you write, you record, you catalog. Outside, life moves to its ancient rhythm. A farmer haggles over sheep. A child spills water from a broken jug. A priest chants something sonorous and low near the temple gate. But you remain inside, hunched over, etching the day into permanence. And should you think, just for a moment, that your work might one day be forgotten, think again. Thousands of years from now, archaeologists will find your tablet. It will be cracked, perhaps, but legible. It may read. 4 jars of oil delivered by Zemo, received by Legolan, confirmed by NKZ scribe. Not poetry, not prophecy, but permanence. Your lunch? Perhaps a bit of flatbread and dried fish, shared in silence. Your rest, brief, if any. The work continues. Records of wheat, tallies of bricks, names of laborers. Marriages, divorces, prayers. In this world, writing is not art, it is administration. Survival, bureaucracy. You are not an artist, nor even a scholar. You are a function. The day ends with your fingers stained with clay dust, your spine curled from hours of sitting without support, your mind swimming in numbers and names. And you are, in the eyes of Sumer, doing sacred work. For without the scribe, there is no temple, no law, no order. The stars emerge, faint winds stir across the rooftops. And as you lay your tired body down to rest on the hard mat again, you wonder quietly if tomorrow's numbers will be as large as today's. You drift to sleep as the city murmurs. Another day awaits. Another set of figures. Another clay tablet waiting for your stylus. Gilgamesh and the quest for immortality explore the world's oldest epic and its surprisingly modern existential dread. Now, let the numbers and dust of the scribe's bench fall away. The sun has set, and a deeper part of the Mesopotamian soul begins to speak, one shaped not by bureaucracy, but by myth, longing, and the aching mystery of mortality. You are no longer in the temple office. Instead, picture yourself seated in a courtyard just before dawn, cool stone beneath you. A storyteller clears his throat softly, and the people draw close. His voice is low, steady, unhurried. He begins, "He who saw the deep, the foundations of the earth, who knew all things, Gilgamesh." Gilgamesh, a name carved into clay thousands of years ago. A king, perhaps. A myth, certainly. And above all, a man who could not accept that even he must one day die. He was said to be 2/3 divine and 1/3 human. He ruled the city of Uruk, where we began strong-walled and proud. Imagine the streets beneath his feet, broad avenues lined with date palms, sacred courtyards filled with incense and chants. But for all his might, the people whispered that their king was restless, ambitious, loud in triumph, yet quiet in despair. To temper this mighty king, the gods created Enkidu, a wild man from the steppe, hairy, untamed, raised among animals. Picture him there, in the reeds, drinking from the river with gazelles. His world is free, but also lonely. When Gilgamesh and Enkidu finally meet, their clash is fierce and brief, like storm meeting storm. But afterward, something changes. They become brothers, companions, the lonely king and the lonely wild man now together. They set out on adventures, not just for glory, but to test themselves, to prove something. They slay Humbaba, guardian of the cedar forest. They kill the bull of heaven, sent by a scorned goddess. They defy the divine, and in doing so, they change the balance of things. Then comes the quiet punishment. Enkidu, the wild man, falls ill. The storyteller pauses. The fire in the courtyard flickers. Listeners lean in. Enkidu dreams of the underworld, dark, endless, filled with dust. And then, slowly, steadily, his life slips away. For the first time, Gilgamesh is not angry. He is afraid. He weeps. He wanders. He removes his royal robes and covers himself in rough skins. He walks the wilderness with only one question in his mind: how can I escape death? This question, so ancient yet still alive in every age. Gilgamesh journeys far, beyond the edges of the known world. He seeks Utnapishtim, the Mesopotamian Noah, a man who survived the Great Flood and was granted immortality. The journey is long. There are stone giants, a tunnel of darkness that lasts for days, and seas with no land in sight. And at the end, Utnapishtim gives him a story instead of an answer. He tells of the flood, the gods' anger, the rising waters, the ark, the birds sent in search of land. But most of all, he speaks of life's fragility. Immortality, he says, was a gift, and a rare one, not meant for kings or heroes or even the brave. But he offers Gilgamesh a sliver of hope, a plant buried deep in the waters that can restore youth. Gilgamesh dives. He finds it. He smiles. But while he rests just for a moment, a serpent steals the plant and slips away. The great king returns home, older, wiser, still mortal. But as he walks through the gates of Uruk, he sees the high walls, the carved stones, the temples he built. And slowly he understands. Not all immortality is denied. Some is built in cities and stories in the soft clay that carries names through centuries. And so the epic ends not with conquest, but with acceptance. Look on my works, Gilgamesh says, and know who I was. And now, as you lie still, perhaps you feel the quiet rhythm of his journey, the chase for meaning, the soft surrender to time. And perhaps you sense, too, that the story, old as it is also your own. The courtyard fades, the fire dies down, and the night deepens. The lost city of your ruins, graves, and the grandeur of a forgotten metropolis. As we leave behind the fading legend of Gilgamesh, let your mind return to earth quiet and slow, like descending a staircase into the past. Now, imagine standing before a broad, dry plain. The sky stretches endlessly above, pale blue and windswept. The land is cracked and parched. There is little vegetation, only scattered shrubs and whispering reeds in the far-off marshes. And yet, beneath your feet, buried just below the surface, lies one of the oldest and greatest cities in human history. Once this place thrived. It hummed with commerce, religion, and daily life. And though now it lies in silence, its bones remain ziggurats worn by time, walls sunk into the earth, graves once sealed, now revealed to the air. Close your eyes. Picture the city not as ruins, but as it once was, under the reign of Enlil or Sunshalki. The air is thick with heat, but the streets are alive. Vendors call out in the shade of cloth canopies. Donkeys clatter down stone-paved roads. The scent of roasting fish and barley bread fills the air. The city sits along the Euphrates, its harbors once busy with boats bearing copper, wool, lapis lazuli from Afghanistan, and fine carnelian from distant lands. It is a city of connections, a hub and a web of early trade. But what strikes you most is the ziggurat. Rising high above the flat plain, the great temple tower stands like a man-made mountain, its layers painted and bright, staircases crawling up its flanks. This is not a place for worship in the way you might know it. The ziggurat is the house of the gods, yes, but also a symbol of the city's order, its permanence, its cosmic purpose. Priests ascend its heights. Rituals are conducted far above the heads of common people, and in the cool chambers below, scribes record offerings, sacrifices, and omens. To live in yours, to be part of something vast, something sacred. Every festival, every birth, every planting and harvest is tied to the will of the gods. There is no separation between the sacred and the ordinary. The very bricks are holy. Now step into the royal cemetery. Excavated millennia later by Sir Leonard Woolley, this burial ground yielded wonders, golden lyres, silver bowls, elaborate headdresses adorned with lapis and gold, but also something more sobering. Dozens of attendants buried beside their masters. Imagine it softly, a procession. Music drifting through the air. Each servant, perhaps dressed in ceremonial clothing, drinks a final draught, perhaps laced with soporifics, perhaps not. They lie beside the queen. The tomb is sealed. Darkness descends. Historians still debate. Was this voluntary? Ritual? Required? We do not know, but the silence of the tomb speaks volumes. And yet, not all was death and devotion. In homes lining the city's streets, ordinary families lived modest, bustling lives. A mother kneads dough while a child plays with a carved dog figurine. A father mends a tool. In the evening, Families gather on rooftops to catch the breeze and gaze at the stars. The same stars you see now, unchanged, though ages have passed. Life in Ur was filled with rhythms, harvest and flood, worship and sleep, birth and burial. The people of Ir feared their gods, yes, but they also loved their homes, shared meals, exchanged jokes, tended gardens. When the city fell, it did not fall with fanfare. Slowly, gradually, the river shifted, trade routes changed, wars came, and the once great city turned to dust, but it was never truly gone. Because even now, in a quiet museum, a small tablet sits under glass. Its wedge-shaped script, carefully etched by a hand long forgotten, reads, "For the good of the temple of Nana, may this endure." And so it has. As you lie here, still and warm, know that even lost cities breathe through memory, through story, through the patient, enduring touch of time. Feasting with the priests of Enlil lavish temple life and the social power of divine lunch breaks. By now, you've walked the dusty lanes of Ur, followed a hero into myth, and sat hunched with a scribe over soft clay tablets. Let the winds of time carry you once more, this time, not to toil or tombs, but to a space of fragrance, ceremony, and indulgence. You are at the temple of Enlil. The god Enlil, lord of air, earth, and order, was no distant deity. His temple was the center of civic life in Nippur, the spiritual capital of Sumer. Here, divinity was not something hidden, but something performed. Something prepared for and consumed. And you're in the kitchen. Yes, the temple has a kitchen, though that word hardly does justice to the vast and intricate operation unfolding here. The scent is rich: roasted lamb, honey-sweetened bread, boiled grain, and dried dates. Clay ovens radiate heat. Bronze knives gleam. Clay bowls are stacked and steaming. Every item prepared here is for the gods, or rather for the priests on behalf of the gods. You see, each offering to Enlil must be perfect. The fat trimmed just so, the beer fermented just long enough, the bread made from the finest flour, the animals inspected, cleaned, and blessed. Once the divine essence has been consumed mysteriously and visibly by the god, the meal is then shared among the priests. A holy recycling. Sacred leftovers. Imagine the feast laid out beneath the high arches of the temple complex. Boiled turnips, stewed lentils, pickled onions, and roasted ducks. In great jugs beer made from barley and thick with flavor. In smaller bowls, honey, butter, and sesame paste. Everything placed according to ritual. Everything in its proper time. To the people outside the temple walls, this is not just a banquet, it is cosmic maintenance. The feeding of the gods maintains harmony between heaven and earth. The feast is not gluttony. It is duty, and yet comfort is very real here. The priests do not sweat in the fields. They do not dig irrigation ditches or haul bricks in the sun. They tend the sacred and they eat well. Their robes are fine linen, their sandals soft, their fingers clean, their speech refined, filled with hymns and proverbs. They are educated, many were scribes before becoming priests, and they hold knowledge most others do not. They interpret dreams. They observe stars. They read omens in smoke and in oil. Power, in this ancient world, does not always wear a crown. Sometimes it wears a headdress and sings a hymn. As you sit quietly in a corner of this feast, perhaps as a temple servant or a humble assistant, you might notice how every bite taken is accompanied by a chant, a prayer, a pause. Nothing is hurried. Even eating is a ritual. Outside, the city thrums with life. A potter spins clay. Children play near the canals. But here, inside the temple walls, time slows. You might see an old priest lift a piece of lamb, offer it skyward, then taste it with reverence. You might hear the low notes of a temple lyre played softly in the background. You might smell sweet incense myrrh, frankincense burning at the altar, curling slowly into the morning air. At the feast's end, the remains are carefully sorted. Some parts return to the earth, some to the kitchen, some to the poor in an echo of charity. Even waste becomes ritual. And as the day lengthens, the priests move back into the temple halls. Some to pray, others to oversee lands and assets. Yes, temples were landowners, managers of livestock, and even bankers in their way. Some will counsel kings. But for now, in this moment, there is only calm, only fullness, only the silent understanding that through food, through offering, through rhythm, the world continues to turn. You step outside into the golden afternoon, the feast behind you, the city beyond, the gods above. And slowly, the ancient world drifts into twilight. And so our steps slow, the clay tablets have been set aside. The ziggurats fade behind the mist of memory. The tombs are quiet once more. The sacred feast is cleared. You have walked the streets of Uruk, stood beneath the vast sky over Ur, and listened to the hushed murmur of priests tending to their gods. You have witnessed the quiet rhythm of ancient life, its burdens, its beauty, its aching questions. In many ways, it was a world utterly unlike our own. A world without clocks, yet full of rhythms, without screens, yet filled with stories, without machines, yet bustling with human effort. Theirs was a life of dust and devotion, of small joys and great unknowns. And yet, perhaps you found something familiar there. The clerk at his bench, trying to get the numbers right. The king searching for something beyond death. The people of Ur, building homes and raising children. The priests using food and ritual to make sense of the vast, mysterious cosmos. Even across 5,000 years, the questions remain. How do we make meaning? How do we endure? What will we leave behind? The people of ancient Mesopotamia answered not with grand monuments alone, but with careful hands, quiet rituals and stories whispered across generations. And now, their voices have faded. Their cities have crumbled, but they are not forgotten. Their lives, etched in clay and kept in memory, now drift gently through your mind like the slow-moving Euphrates beneath a moonlit sky. Take one last breath of that ancient air, the scent of baked earth, the quiet hum of distant lyres, the rustle of palm fronds in a midnight breeze, and then slowly allow yourself to return back to your own self-bed. To the warmth of now, to the hum of electricity, the quiet pulse of the modern world just beyond your window. But something older stays with you. The rhythm of their lives, the wisdom of stillness, the comfort of knowing that even at the very beginning of civilization, people sat and worked and wondered just like you. So rest now. Let the clay harden, let the torches dim, let the city sleep. And let sleep take you too, gently, slowly, as all things eventually must. Good night.